All right. Well, we are closer to the apocalypse now. I really do think shit's about to crack off. I know that I have a lot of viewers that have been to prison. And you know that feeling when you know something's going to crack off? I mean, it's honestly, it's like feeling a change in the weather. You start seeing different races congregating, like schools of fish, stationary, tense. You know, the tension is palpable. That's what it feels like when I go to 7-Eleven. It's like, whoa. I don't even see people getting scratcher tickets anymore. You see like 2 or 3 people in full-on biohazard outfits. It's pretty it's pretty wild. I mean, that's the experience I'm having here in LA. I'm about 15 minutes from downtown, and I was there not that long ago with Al Prophet. It's a ghost town there. It's trippy. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I mean, I have to be. Imagine being 10, 11 years old, having a shower with all the guys after basketball practice, and having the smallest wiener. It's kind of like, I'm going to be optimistic the rest of my life because, I can't believe the hype that if you don't have a big dick, that your personality can't be bomb. And we all know mine's bomb, and my dick's small. But, regardless, I think that things are probably going to change for the better. I do. I think that there's a lot of things we're not happy about, regardless of what your political beliefs are. That shit has nothing to do with anything. I find it, somebody, OG Badger put up one of my videos and someone's like, why is this guy on? He's a gun-hating liberal. This is after I spent an entire video denouncing partisan politics and my disdain towards neoliberalism. First of all, I've been to prison 3 times. If you think for 1 second that I'm anti-gun and I think that we shouldn't have weapons but the government should, I don't trust the fucking government at all. And that's one of the problems. We have this media paradigm. So it's funny because the people that are manipulated by the media are actually the ones that stereotype. It's kind of funny that way. And, there's one last thing I'll say, and I'm sorry for the somber tone. Somber, I sound like such a pretentious little bitch who says, well, how you feeling today? Hey man, I'm feeling somber. Let's go skate. Who talks like that, Conspiracy theories, guys. Disastrous right now, dangerous. I actually see idiots on social media being like, do you know anybody that has the virus personally? I do. I know someone that just died from it. Somebody that I did time with. A good guy. His name was Steve. And I did time with him when I was in the Midwest. He died yesterday. From Corona, specifically. He was living, I believe, in Kansas City. So I know someone personally that died. I have a teacher that has it right now. A teacher that, I had grown up and they were my teacher. But, so people actually, and then I have a friend whose husband has it, a girl I've known forever. So yeah, people have it. But the conspiracy stuff is, we got to stop that. It's dangerous. And I mean, I probably don't have all the answers. In fact, it's probably the opposite. I've said it a million times. I've been a junkie for 2 decades. I've been to prison 3 times. What the fuck do I know? I have a GED level education. Read a few books in prison. That doesn't mean anything. But this is what I have to say about conspiracy theories. Regardless of what is actually happening, you can't throw things out there as absolute truth if you don't have a grasp or a command on some of the topics. You can't say that certain people run the world and have fringe conspiracy theories about how geopolitics work when you don't know shit about geopolitics. Ask these people what parliamentary socialism is. Ask them what jingoism is. Ask them what it means to be jingoistic, or what neocolonialism means, or the difference between discretionary and entitlement spending, or what super PACs are. What does Citizens United do? What does a republic do? What's the difference between Marxism and communism, and are they the same thing? What's an autocratic dictator, and what's an autocratic dictator when they have communism behind it? Ask them those, because those are just basic fundamentals of geopolitics, right? or in some domestic entitlement discretion is domestic. But it's like, guys, let me tell you something. This is a fact. This is an unprecedented pandemic. And if we start throwing out these absolutes like, nope, hey, whoa, it's not as we appear. It's not as it appears. The government's out to get you. Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's an oligarch for sure. Where they're peasants. I get it. But let's stick with facts. There is a virus. There is a global financial collapse coming. These are facts. It's not made up. And, you know, there's some fringe theories right now that supposedly is all going to come true very soon. I don't think so. And I guess we'll see. And if I'm wrong, I will be on that mob lynch with you guys. Believe that. Let's get into the story. Fuck. Though lately I've just been so serious. It's kind of, I don't know. It's cabin fever. If you haven't been to prison, this is what a prison lockdown feels like, but much worse. You know, you should get, like, you know how you can get scent bombs that smell like farts? Lock yourself in one room with your wife or like with your roommate and hit it with fart bombs. That's a lockdown. Now, extra credit. Go to your smallest bathroom and lock yourself in that with a James Patterson book. That's solitary confinement. And then you kind of get an understanding of what people that have been to prison have dealt with. Well, they deserve to be there. I bet a lot of people, if we're going to play that, deserve to be in prison that haven't been. So, just saying. Sorry, that's my virtue signaling for now. Let's get into the story. Let's talk about what a piece of shit pimp I am. So, where we left off last time, I had gotten back together with Casey for a few days. And, you know, not to talk shit about her. Like I said in the last video, good people, not good together. You know, and so we broke up. So now I'm just kind of working for this moving company. I go to see my probation supervisor, this guy named Brandon. I won't say his last name. I should though, but I won't. But this guy Brandon, he's the classic asshole stepdad, you know, that coaches Little League, you know, that he's with a way hotter chick. Like the girl he's dating is out of his league, so he kisses her ass by like trying to be involved with her kids. Like, well, I'm gonna coach Little League, but the kids hate him, and then everybody else hates him because he's just some dweeb. That's this guy Brandon. And so I have to go. He works in this office in Ventura. Ventura is like 30 minutes south of Santa Barbara. I remember I don't have a car, so my dad has to take me to go see him. I don't remember when it was, but I was clean. I did ecstasy and I did coke with that girl. But whenever I'd gone, that wasn't. It must have been before or long enough after where it wasn't an issue. But I go to see this guy, and he's just a dick to me right off the bat. You know, he looks at my record and he goes, so I see you came up positive for opiates while you were in prison, while you were incarcerated. I go, I did. You know, I said, you know, Brandon, I was a heroin addict before I went to prison, and I got to tell you, prison wasn't the best environment. It wasn't really conducive for me wanting to be clean. It was actually the most depressing, terrifying time of my entire life every time I've been there. And he's like, oh, well, you know, you were part of the LA office when you were on U.S. supervision before. This time, we'll just lock you up. We think people like you deserve to be in prison for much longer than you are. I said, people like me? What do you mean? He's like, drug addicts. Now, he said it like I was a fucking werewolf or something, you know? I'm like, drug addicts? I was like, well, how come you guys are so light on sex offenders then? What about that? And he's like, get out of my office. Now, he had explained to me that he was the probation supervisor. He was not my PO. He wasn't my assigned PO. And he said that it would take a while for me to have one assigned to me. But he said, but you're still on probation. And I said, okay, what about drug testing? He's like, we'll assign that to you. Now, there's a lot of bureaucratic bullshit that goes on with federal supervision. Now, if you've been in that system for long enough, you learn how to navigate it to some degree. So you have to take everything that you hear and be able to interpret that, how you can use it to your advantage. They haven't assigned drug testing yet. You know what that means? You can do drugs. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'll wait for you to tell me how drug testing is going to work. That always gives you a window. So I knew that I had one. Now, it's not like I went out and got heroin right there and then, but I knew that for the most part, I could kind of do what I wanted. If I wanted to get high, I could. If I wanted to go out and get wasted and be in the bar life, I was newly single again. But I didn't. I actually, believe it or not, wanted to be good. I knew that the movie deal was looming ahead, so I knew that would probably be life-changing for me, even if they didn't make the movie for many years, because that's how film deals generally work. So they give you an option. That's what a film deal is called. They give you an option, and there's usually an option term associated with it, or included with it. 90 days, 6 months, a year, 18 months. And they pay you for that option window. So what it means is in that time, they have the option to make your film. And, they give you, usually you get $500 to $10,000 if like you're a first time and it's like an independent film type thing. I think like Chuck Palahniuk, I want to say got $5,000 for optioning Fight Club. It's not the kind of stuff that, a lot of people think, well, if you get a film deal, you're set. Not necessarily true. You get the option money, and then they owe you money before the first day of principal photography. Now, usually that's a bigger number. And what they were offering me, not for the option fee, now that was low, but for the actual, film rights, that was going to be high. And Santos and I had been talking about it. And not too high, nothing life-changing. I couldn't buy a house with it, let's just say. But I didn't even have a car at the time, and I could buy a car with that amount of money. And some other, and Bro Chop porn on DVD. That's what I spend my money on. And so I knew that I had that, like ahead of me. And I was really excited for that. I also kind of examined my life, and I was like, okay, I'm always getting locked up for doing drugs, for drinking. Obviously, I'm a drug addict and alcoholic, and I knew that. And I wanted to do something different. Now, I'd gotten out. I got back on Suboxone, and I was snorting them at first. And then I started taking them sublingually for a little bit, and now I was injecting them. And I always thought that if I injected Suboxone, so I would get the strip, I'd put it in a spoon, I'd add a little bit of water to it, and I'd stir the plunger around, and it dissolves into liquid. I'd throw cotton in, draw it up, and inject it. Just like you inject anything. You don't have to cook it or anything. Now, that sublingual means you put it under your tongue. That stuff is not good for your veins. Clearly. I mean, you inject, so by that point, the only real area that I had left to shoot Suboxone was on my legs, which has poor circulation anyway, so you get a lot of complications when you inject shit into your legs. And what happens with injecting Suboxone is everything starts hardening, so you get these like big hard lumps on your leg. And I'd start doing that. Now, I guess this probably is a testament to how much of a fucking junkie I am. I was like, all right, I'm slamming subs, but I probably need AA. So I started going to AA. I might have talked about that in the last video. I don't remember. I didn't watch it. So I'm shooting Suboxone, but I'm going to Alcoholics Anonymous because I'm really scared about drinking. I know the film deal's coming, so I don't want to fuck it all up. And so I start going. And I go to this one meeting. It's like at a homeless shelter. I run into this girl. Let's give her a name for the sake of the story. What will I remember? Let's call her Elizabeth. Okay. So I meet this girl named Elizabeth. Now, I didn't really meet her because I had known her back when I was doing heroin. When I would get in trouble with my ex-wife, and we would fight, a lot of times I would get in my car and I would drive up to Santa Barbara and I'd go stay with Jeff. Maybe I'd get a hooker or something. That was back when I was into the hooker thing. But a lot of times I'd go up there strung out on heroin and I'd have to get some. Now, the heroin scene changed dramatically since, I grew up in Santa Barbara, and I was doing heroin when I was like in high school, 16, 17. And when I first started, there was a whole generation of people that were like 5 or 6 years older than me. And I knew all of them. I mean, it's a small town. So when I got into it, I would get stuff from them, And what I found interesting is I went to prison for 5 years. I got sober for 3. 1 of it was in prison. 2 of it was out there. So that's 7 years by the time I got back into heroin. What had happened from the time that I was into it and the time that I came back is I found that a lot of people had either died or gone to prison. Like an entire generation had died off. I was like, whoa. So now there was this new generation of smokers. They smoked off tinfoil, stuff like that. And I had met this girl, Elizabeth, one of the times when I'd come up from LA to Santa Barbara and I needed to score, and I called some kid. He was probably like 24 or something. And I asked him if he could get any black, and he hooked me up with her. Now, when I met her, she was living with skinheads in a tent by a railroad track. It seemed legit to me. And so, and I remember I bought China White off her. Or it was really just fentanyl, but they were like, yeah, no, this is China White. I'm like, that is fentanyl. They were like, how would you know? I'm like, I don't know. I've been a loser for 17 years. That's not China White, trust me. And they were like, it is. We'll give you a gram for $30. I'm like, yeah, all right, that's fentanyl. A gram of China White's not $30. So that's how I'd met her. And, she's good looking. She's probably 28, maybe younger than that. I don't know, mid-20s, I want to say. And I hadn't seen her since. So now I'd gone to prison and I'd gotten out. And, I was fooling around with other girls, whatever. Got back with Casey momentarily. Then that didn't work. And so now I go to this AA meeting at this homeless shelter and I run into Elizabeth. I hadn't seen her since we were using together last time, since I bought heroin or fentanyl off her last time I saw her. And she's like, oh my God, how are you? And like, I'm good. And she's like, I didn't know you were sober. I'm living in a sober living. And so she's immediately giving me a lot of attention at this spot. Now, I was liked her. I mean, not like that, but I thought she was whatever. She's not, in the drug world, you'll find people like this who she's not annoying. And it gets to a point where people are so annoying in the drug culture that you kind of just filter people out. And the people that you let stay are the ones that are usually the most quiet, the most hygienic. Like, there's nothing worse than the junkie without hygiene. It's the worst. You pick them up and your entire car stinks and their stench just stays on. There's nothing you can do about it. You can spray it with anything. Lysol, nothing. Does nothing. You can smell this rank smell of whatever stench this person has. That's the unhygienic junkie. And then there's the annoying, female drug addicts. I want drugs. My ex-wife would fall into that bracket. They're usually hookers too, which is okay. We have nothing against hookers, but I'm just saying. And then there's people like this who are just very quiet and calculated, almost sociopathic, but we like those. In the drug world, that's considered an asset. Somebody like that just kind of shuts the fuck up. They're cool no matter what. And like crazy stuff goes on. People OD and it's just in a complete disarray, mayhem, and the person's just like, they're just dead inside. And as weird as it sounds, those are my favorite kind of people to get loaded with. I don't want to be around a bunch of drama. You are such a drug addict. Buy me cocaine. You're a junkie. I hate people like that. The hypocrites, the unhygienic, and the loud. Nope. And then there's the quiet. the sociopath, the functional sociopath, we'll say. And that was her. But now she told me that she had been clean for about 6 months, and she was living at a sober living, and she asked me if I would hang out with her. She said she needed somebody sober to hang out with. And I was like, sure. What do you want to do? She's like, I don't know, maybe tomorrow we can go to the beach. I said, yeah, sounds great. No problem. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are asking, well, you just wanted to fuck her. No, I didn't. I wasn't even thinking about that. I forget who I was sleeping with at the time, but there was somebody. I don't remember who, though. I don't know. A lot happened in like a very short period of time. Remember, I've only been out for like 7 days at this point, and I've already like gotten back together with my ex, broken up with her, partied with that girl from Plenty of Fish, and gotten a job moving furniture, gotten addicted to shooting Suboxone, met my probation super. I mean, a lot had happened in a week. And so the next day, remember, I don't have a car or anything. So I tell my mom, I'm like, Mom, can you drop me off downtown? I got to go meet this girl. My mom's like, okay. So she takes me, and I have my skateboard, and I meet up with this girl, and we end up going to the beach. And I had a backpack on, this red backpack that I bought off a homeless guy that would become like my signature backpack during this whole period. Just this red backpack that some homeless guy came up to me. He's like, you know, the people that come up to you and they're like, hey, bro, do you want to buy this backpack? Yeah, I was trying to sell it for $9, but like, I'll do it for $5. What's up? And you're like, and normal people just ignore them. I've always liked giving homeless people money, but and I rarely need something like that. Like, the classic guys you'll see at the gas station, they'll be like, hey, excuse me, homie. I got a flashlight for sale. Yeah, I lost my wallet, but I got this badass ring. I got this badass flashlight. Buy my flashlight. And you're usually like, yeah, I'm cool. And you're putting your window up, But this particular time I bought the red backpack, so I was always wearing that. So I met up with her, we went to the beach, I had a towel in my backpack, and we laid out. Now we start talking, and she's telling me that she's an escort, meaning that she's a prostitute. Now, I'm like, but wait, I thought you're in recovery, and I thought you're living in a sober living. And she's like, well, I am. And she's like, I was an escort before I had gotten sober. She's like, that's how I made all my money. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how old are you? I forget how old she was. But I think mid-20s, maybe early 20s. I mean, she wasn't that old. Not somebody to have like an entire lifetime of prostitution under their belt. I really looked at her as a victim in the whole situation. And I'm like, damn. And I was like, well, what's that like? Because my ex-wife was a hooker. But like anytime that she wouldn't talk to me about it because I was mean about it. I'd be like, well then, go fuck a John, ho. When we're fighting, she'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe I told you about that. Now you use it against me. Which, honestly, piece of shit thing of me to do. I can admit that. At the time, I was just insecure. It wasn't me thinking that what she did was gross. That's not gross. Saying something like that would be completely closed-minded. That would be like saying that every porn star is gross. That's not gross to me. And I think it really says something about somebody that talks shit about porn stars, but they enjoy porn. Like, yeah, I'm going to jerk off to this porn star. And then they come and they're like, ew, what a gross porn star. Whore. Well, that really says something about you. You're the kind of person that does a mall massacre. Correct? Yes. So, I didn't have anything against my ex-wife prostituting. It was more, I was insecure. I would get triggered. And I talk about that a lot in June Gloom. And I don't know if other people, please somebody comment about this. I get triggered. Bizarre stuff. She tells me something like, yeah, I was a hooker once in Connecticut when I was there. And then every time Connecticut comes up, I'm just enraged. It might be silent. I might get, I just hear a word and then I just, freak out because it just sets off some crazy chain reaction in my mind just by one trigger word. And it wasn't that I thought prostitution was gross, because I don't. Because if you're a consenting adult, my opinion, you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want with your body. And a lot of people enjoy sex. I think a lot of people that I know that have done prostitution, stripping, any sort of sex work, like, I enjoy sex and I get paid for it. Cool. And not everybody looks at it the same. You know, some people hold sex as very sacred. Some people don't. Some people got abused and they were objectified young, and they think that all they're good for is sex, and that's really sad, but it's just the reality, and there's a lot of people that think that way. So it'd be pretty hypocritical and judgmental to look down on somebody for being a prostitute. And I don't want people to think, just because I'm always like, that fucking whore, that I think that there's anything wrong with it. If anything, I look at her, my ex-wife in particular, as more of a victim. You know, it's like she was enslaved by addiction and didn't, you know, and felt that that was her only option. You know, and sometimes maybe, you know, that is what their only option is. Who knows? But so she told me she's an escort, and she's like, "Do you think I'm gross because of that?" I'm like, "No, I don't. You're not my girlfriend. I've never even had sex with this girl." No, I mean, I think that you probably shouldn't be exploiting yourself like that. You know, because I started asking her questions. You know, I'm like, "Hey, like, do you ever, like, I don't know, is it gross? Do you ever have to fuck ugly guys?" She's like, "Do I ever have to fuck ugly guys? It's like all ugly guys." I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, and they're weird." I'm like, "Well, what kind of stuff do they do?" She's like, "Well, like this guy yesterday gave me $44 if he could lick my ass." I'm like, damn, he paid, why, first of all, why a random number like that? And to lick your ass? I thought that was against, like, hooker etiquette. I thought, like, no kissing, no cunnilingus, or analingus, cunnilingus. It's a funny word. And she's like, "Well, you know, $44 is $44. I was like, "Heard that, soul girl?" You know, and so I was like, "So you don't like doing it?" And she's like, "I hate doing it." But she's like, honestly, it's what I know. Secondly, I have felonies. She's like, "I have felonies from when I was much younger. And when I go look for a job, they're so recent because I'm so young that it affects me." Because felonies are explainable. You know, like when I first got out of prison this time, they would be like, "Do you have any felonies?" I'd be like, "Well, I got 3. What are they?" I'm like, "Well, you know, non-violent drug stuff." They're like, "Oh, man, no problem there." I'm like, "All right, cool. But we're going to have to do a background check anyway." I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." Pimping and pandering comes up. I mean, that's like not something you can explain. Well, yeah, I was accidentally pimping in 2017. You know, but I was a pimp then, but I got clean. You know, nobody's gonna listen to shit like that. But so you know, I explained, like, or I brought up webcam porn because when I was living in LA, remember the guy that I just had on, Riggy Mars? He I've got boogers in my nose. People will comment, "Get the booger out of your nose." Remember the guy Riggy Mars? His girlfriend, or his ex-girlfriend, did webcam porn. She did Chatterbait, which was this like interactive chat room where people are like, "Stick a shampoo bottle up your ass." You're like, $40. $40 says I won't. And then like these like coins drop down. It's like a waterfall of coins. And then somebody like in the chat room is like grabs the shampoo bottle and just rams it in their butt, and they get $40, you know? And the guy that's some perverts watch some dude's all greasy on the like on his laptop, like, $40 well spent. Bitches put shampoo bottle up her ass. I'm not really sure what kind of weirdos would do stuff like that, but I mean, I guess there's a market for it. And this girl, like Riggy Mars's girl, was making, like, she already had a following and everything, but she was making like $3,000 a day at certain points. And so I started explaining that to her. I'm like, "Yeah, you can make money like on webcam porn, and then you don't have to like fuck ugly dudes that you don't want to." And she's like, "Oh my God, that's just like the best idea ever." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "In fact, I need money too." And she's like, "Would you be willing to do it?" I'm like, "Yeah." I see, I've always kind of been governed by impulsivity. I don't think about stuff. Like, how would that have gone if, you know, I did webcam porn, and then like some years later, I'm like, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. And then people like find videos of me sticking shampoo bottles at my ass, you know? I mean, stuff comes back to haunt you, but I don't think like that. I don't think about immediate consequences. I'm just like, $3,000? I want that now. I don't give a fuck. I'll deal with it later, you know? And then it comes back to screw you. So we're on the beach and we're talking about it. And she's like, do you have any guys that are looking, do you know any guys that would like be willing to have a sugar daddy type situation? You know, and a sugar daddy is basically somebody that gives a consistent allowance towards an escort, and they not only hang out with this person, usually it's like some old California raisin looking, you know, the Jamie Lakes of the world, Freddy Kruegers, and you know, these guys give them like $5,000 a month, pay for everything, and the girls are basically their girlfriends, but they're on the payroll for it. There's even like sugar daddy websites, and you know, so she's asking me if I knew anyone like that. I was like, I don't. And she's like, okay, well, I mean, let's look into the webcam thing. So I started Googling it. I Googled Chatterbait, and it all sounds like it sounds like a really good thing. It's like, do you want to make $40,000 a day, whatever it was? All you need is a driver's license and nude photos of you. I was like, I can do that. I can do that. So what I did is we went to this bathroom. This was like at a beach. We go to this public bathroom, and she's like, okay, you go first. We've talked about this. I always get duped into doing shit first. I'm like, okay. Just drop my pants. And I'm like, I don't have a boner or anything. I was like, kind of like playing with it. It went from like 2 inches to like 2.4. I was like, does it look good? She's like, yeah, of course. Perfect escort. She's like, shit's hella bomb. I was like, yeah, well. So she took a picture. And then, so once I was done, so we took it, and it, like, the picture's absurd, you know? I offer it for the $100 tier. It's the same picture. I just happen to have it in my phone. But it's just ridiculous. I'm wearing like a backwards hat. I look all like innocent. It's actually like a really sad picture, and I'm just like, my little dong's just hanging there. And so I take mine, and then I take hers. She, you know, hers are a little more creative. She's like bending over, stuff like that. So we take pictures, and so I'm like looking into it. I'm like, okay, now we have to upload our driver's licenses. So I get her driver's license and I get mine, and we do it. So we get a profile on Chatterbait. I'm like, hell yeah, cool. We're on now. And so I'm, you know, I think we took a bus somewhere. We were hanging out that whole day, and I like read somewhere that the best way to entice people onto look at it like a YouTube channel, right? So I have a YouTube channel now. I have almost 11,000 people that watch or that subscribe, and you know, to get people, the way that my channel got bigger is I was on bigger channels first, and then, you know, it kind of siphons some following off this person, and it seems to be a common strategy amongst people that do YouTube channels. Chatterbait's the same way, but you have to have, so you don't go on like other bigger Chatterbait channels, I don't think. I mean, it's not something I ever really got into, but what I was reading is that you have to have some example video. You know, you got to have a sample product. And I put the phone down, and I'm like, according to this, we're going to have to fuck on camera. We have to give them a sample. She's like, okay. And I'm like, can we go to your place? She's like, I live in a sober living. I was like, well, I live with my parents, and they already think I'm a creep. I don't know. Maybe we can go there. Oh. And it was like maybe like 4:30. So I knew Jeff was getting off work, you know? So I called Jeff, and I'm like, hey, bro, can I come over? Is the gay psychic roommate there? And he's like, no, the gay psychic roommate's not here. And I was like, hey, dude, I got $100 right now if I can come use your place. I'm with this girl. We're just trying to make a little sex tape real quick. He's just like, checks out. Do you have the $100 up front? I'm like, of course not. I have to make the video first, dude. We're going to upload it. He's like, of course. Yeah, dude, whatever, you know, being cool. I just got out. I've been out like a week or something. So, I go over to his place and I bring her. And, I'm like, okay. I'm trying to figure, I'm like, can I use your laptop? He's like, dude, you didn't say all that. You can use your phone. I'm like, okay. So we end up going to his gay psychic roommate's room and like binocular and filming it, right? So we filmed this like super corny, like, I mean, listen, I pride myself in my writing abilities. I made a plot line, and yeah, it was pretty creative. It's like, I was like, you know, I did the talking. I was like, hi, we're college students. We don't know how to pay our dorm rent this month. So we just decided to fucking sell it. And like, she looks at the camera, she's like, yeah, we're gonna have sex. And it was just horrible. It was like Blair Witch shit, you know, paranormal activity. Like all shaky and like, I don't know, I'd never done that before. I mean, of course, who hasn't made like little porn videos with like their girlfriend and stuff, but I don't know, I'm no professional, let's just say that. I mean, you guys see how long it took me to get like some semblance of quality on my YouTube channel. Imagine me like starting off trying to make a porn video. Not very good at it. So we finish and then I try to upload it onto Chatterbait and it won't fucking upload. And I'm just like, she's like, well, maybe you need Wi-Fi. Didn't work. It's just one of those things where we had technological difficulty. Now, by this point, she'd gotten dressed. She called her friend. They came to get her. It was like 5 girls in like a Jeep or something. I walk out. I have a backwards hat on. I'm wearing flip-flops. Now, I'm in decent shape at the time. I'll make the, I don't know, I'll make the cover of this what I look like during that period. Like, I looked healthier than I have in a lot of other periods in my life. So I walk out shirtless, I have a backwards hat, I'm smoking a cigarette, and these girls ask what we were doing, and she's like, oh, well, we just had sex in a gay psychic's room for money. And these are all sober living girls, right? And they're all like in their mid-20s. They're like, what? That sounds hella bomb. What's up? And the entrepreneur in me, the light just went off. I'm like, wait, 6 girls, 1 cup? No, 6 girls, 1 dude, all down to make Chatterbait porn. I should just start a company. Fuck it. And I dabbled in the pornography business at one point. Back when I was doing the drug dealing stuff, back in like 2007, I want to say. I was friends with a couple, more than a couple. I was friends with like 5 or 6 strippers. And I was telling them, you know, we'd get all coked out and be like, yeah, I'm going to start a porn company and we'll have plots and I want all you guys to be involved with it and we'll become millionaires. I was watching Boogie Nights a lot back then and I thought that I could like replicate it somehow. And the girls were like, down, let's do this. Didn't work out. I don't remember why. Oh, I think because we tried to sell it to people and people are like, well, can't we just go on, it's 2007 when porn was around back then, Thumbzilla, remember that one? I don't know. Can't we just get the porn for free on the internet? So nobody wanted to pay for our little videos that we made. And I was like, fuck, but it was still a pretty fun process. Maybe I'll tell that story sometime when I tried to run my porn company. I don't even remember what we were going to call it. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so all these girls were down, including Elizabeth, the main one. So I was stoked. And I go back to Jeff's house. Now, his roommate wasn't staying there that often. He was traveling at that period. So I was sleeping over a lot. And I remember telling Jeff, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to start a porn company. You know what I mean? I'm going to move to the San Fernando Valley. 0 fucks given. And he's just like, I think he just is more amused by my like shenanigans. You know, I'm always have some like scheme, you know, this is the one, this is it. This is the big idea. I'm one of those guys. So, you know, at that time period were doing really well as far as our diet, as far as working out. And I can say, honestly, that I was genuinely pretty happy during this period. It's just, I worked at this furniture moving company, and I was making $28 an hour. That's good money. And I didn't like really need other money. I had the film deal coming. I was pretty comfortable. And what ends up happening, maybe like a couple weeks go by. Now, the whole time I'm trying to coordinate the porn endeavor. I'm trying to make it happen. I'm going to get a fictitious business license, then I'm going to get a DBA. Should we incorporate? Maybe we should incorporate. Think about all the tax benefits. I'm like getting really into it. I'm like Googling how to start a successful pornography company. I was like on some real weirdo shit. I'm like telling my parents about it at like dinner, or they're like eating salad. I'm like, yeah. And I got like 5 sober living sluts. Mom, Dad, down. They're down. My dad's like, yeah, we've made a psychiatry appointment for you next Thursday with Dr. Bill. Shit like that. I mean, they think I'm nuts, and I don't blame them. But, so, I knew that I needed to find other guys, so that I could make bro chop porn with them. I knew that having about 6 girls and just me, we couldn't really do much with it. But if we had like a couple more guys, then there's just so many more possibilities. Like, okay, this dude can be with her, this dude can be with her and 2 girls, this girl can be with 2 dudes, like whatever, there has to be more like variety. 6 girls and 1 guy, although it's something that I would be interested in watching, not everybody likes that. In fact, some people have some really weird taste in porn, and so I thought I was like the next Larry Flynn or something. I really thought I was like doing something major. And so every time I'm trying to recruit like my friends, they're like, do we need to show our face? I was like, of course we do. No, you can wear a Nixon mask and butt fuck a chick, dude. Come on. Nobody's going to want to see that. They're like, you're crazy. You're crazy, dude. They're going to identify you. I'm like, wouldn't want that. Dude, shocking video of Ryan having sex with 2 girls. It's like, who gives a shit, dude? I'm not talking about gay porn here. I'm not talking about anything provocative or controversial. It's just porn. Everyone has sex. No, not into it. So eventually I find this guy. He's probably like 22. I want to say 21. I don't know. He's younger than me. I know that. And he's with it. Now, one of the issues we were having is that I lived with my parents. All these girls lived at a sober living. We didn't have a place to film, but we found this kid named Chris. And I think he was 21, I want to say. Not only was he into it, and he was a good looking kid. And it was like, cool. All right. Like now we have like, at least we have me, him, and like 6 girls. That's a good start. That's better than just me and the 6 girls, and like, because just think about how many videos, just pair them up one by, Chris with each girl individually, and then me with each girl individually. That's like, it's like 12 videos right there. And that's like how we were thinking. I was thinking it from like a business model. So as soon as I meet up with him, he had an apartment. That was the best part. That was like the biggest draw to the whole thing. He had an apartment, and he's like, yeah, you guys can use my apartment. We can use it to film. Like, he was all into it. He totally bought into the dream. He's like, this is brilliant. I'm like, yeah, I already know. I'm glad you see it, dude. So we're getting ready to do a shoot. Like, dude, we bought lights, like these like they were like $40. It looked like pretty much like a lantern, but we thought that they were like film lights, but they weren't. I think we got them off Craigslist or something. I don't even remember. But so the day that we're supposed to do our first shoot, it's like, I was going to do 3 of them with 3 different girls, and he was going to do 3 with 3 different girls. And the day that we're supposed to do it, he kind of backs out a little bit. He's like, dude, I I need heroin. I can't get it up without heroin. Now, I'm not doing heroin at the time, but I can get it. So I called this guy Charlie, and I knew that he was like, I knew he had whatever going on at the time. And I asked him if he could hook it up. And Charlie's like, yeah, no problem. Hold on a second. I need to wipe my nose. Hold on. All right. That was a quick intermission. My septum just leaks. It's not leaks out of my nose because my septum is fucked up. But anyway, so I meet up with him, and what's ironic is I met him at Santa Barbara County Jail when I was 18. I was 18 and he was probably like 27, 25, something like that. And back then, I would go to the honor farm. General population honor farm. You could smoke cigarettes. It was pretty cool. This is like back in like 2003, 2004. You could still buy cigarettes off commissary. And he kind of was like an older brother figure to me in Santa Barbara County. He'd be like, this is how you make a Cadillac. Hot cocoa, coffee, and then you roll a bugler. He's like, this is living, my man. And I'd be like, dude, you're so cool. I love this guy. What? You've been in jail for 6 weeks? Dude, you're tough. I was like a little kid back then. But he would always be like, he was a dirtbag back then. He'd be like, hey, do you have any like 18-year-old little sluts or even 17-year-old little sluts that we can pimp? He's like, do you know that there's an actual charge for pimping? It's called pimping and pandering. It's a real thing. And I thought it was so funny. It stuck out of my mind. Now, as the years would go on, he'd like when I was homeless, he's one of the houses that I would like sleep on his couch. He lived with his parents, still lives with his parents. He's like in his 40s now. But, a couple times we robbed drug dealers. Like, he'd call me and be like, hey, I have a gun, but it doesn't have bullets. Do you know anyone that sells like Oxycontins or heroin? And you can say you're going to get something, and then I'll just go up and I'll jack them and wear a ski mask with my gun without bullets. And I'd be like, okay, yeah, let's set up my friends. And like, we would do it. Now, they were never my friends, but just connections and stuff. People that I'd always owe money to. It's just like, fuck it. Like, let's hit them. So, he would always say pimping and pandering when we first met. And then he went on to be like a heroin dealer, not like a major one, like kind of guy that gets like 10 grams at a time, sells half grams to people all day and thinks they're doing something. One of those kind of guys. So I go to meet him the day that we're supposed to do the shoot because Chris needs heroin, or he's like, dude, I'm a premature ejaculator unless I have heroin. And I'm like, I get it. I mean, I've never been a premature ejaculator, but I know that when I do heroin, I can't come, which is ideal for porn. So I go to meet up with Charlie. He's driving like some old white Honda or something. I get in the car. He's like, hey, man, how you been? And I'm like, I'm cool. I was like, hey. And, he looks like your classic, like, weathered Southern California peckerwood, classic like skin damaged face from being on prison yards for too long. He had done 7 years in prison for petty theft. It was back when like judges could send you away for like really minor stuff like that. And he got out, and when he got out in like 2008, I want to say, or whenever it was, I don't think he did the full 7 years. I think that's just what he was sentenced to. He probably did like 3 years or something, 3.5 years. And I remember I was selling heroin when he got out. So I used to be his connection. And, then I'd gone away and I got out, and somehow I knew that he was still selling something. I think he had messaged me on Facebook and be like, I sell heroin if you ever need it. I was like clean at the time. Then, of course, when I relapsed, I hit him up. And so I'm like, he's telling me that his mom's dying of cancer. I'm like, man, I'm sorry to hear that. And I'm like, what are you doing these days? It's like, just driving Uber. You drive an Uber and slanging. That's it. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, hey, check it out, dude. I got this little, like, I don't know, this kind of silly little porn company I have going, but 6 pretty good looking girls, and then there's just this one like younger dude. He's probably like 21, and me. I was like probably 31 at the time. And he's like, I'm like, do you want to do it with me? And he's like, oh, no, I don't porn. He's like, nah, I'm good. He's like, do any of those girls do escorting? I was like, well, the main one, Elizabeth, kind of, but I'm kind of trying to get her out of it. That's the reason we're doing the webcam stuff. And he's like, well, I got this guy. His name's Ryan, just like you, and he's just like an unhappy dude in a marriage, and girls are his vice. You think that she's looking for like a sugar daddy, which is what she had asked for. And I'm like, nah, dude, I don't really want to, hook her up with anyone like that. I'm trying to get her away from it. She's not into it anymore. He's like, okay, all right, well, let me know. I was like, all right, cool. So I got the heroin. We tried to do the shoot. Again, we had issues uploading stuff. We just couldn't figure out how to do it. I don't know. I think you have to do everything from a laptop. Like the smartphone thing just wasn't working. And so I go on to, I just continue. This is like a project. The porn thing is something that I'm working on in the background, but I'm continuing to work this legit job of doing furniture moving. I'm making good money, living with my parents and just stacking up my money, trying to get a car, trying to get my own place, just trying to reestablish my life a little bit. I'd lost everything in that little 90-day violation, just like I had told the judge would happen. I knew I'd lose my apartment, everything in that time. And so one day while I'm working, I get a call from Elizabeth. She's in a complete panic. She's like, fuck. I'm like, what? And she's like, I'm going to get kicked out of my sober living unless I can get rent. We need to upload some stuff and we need to start making money immediately. I'm like, it doesn't work like that. It takes a while. We have to build a following. And she's like, I don't know what to do. She's like, can you find me a John or something? I'm like, I don't know anyone like that. I was like, well, actually, I know this guy. He sells black, and he says he drives Uber on the side, and he has like some consistent customer that is looking for an escort, like a sugar daddy type thing, just like you were saying. She's like, for real? Is he a weirdo? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know the guy. And she's like, can you make it happen for me? And, I'd said that I would ask. So when I got off work, and I had forgotten about it, she called me again, and I called Charlie, and I was like, hey, this girl actually is interested in a sugar daddy type thing. Can you give the dude my number just so I can see? I want to try to feel out if he's a weirdo or not. This is my friend. I'm not really trying to like hook her up with some weirdo. It's just going to be some guy that treats her right? He's like, yeah, absolutely. He's like, it's not even a John hooker type thing. It's straight up sugar daddy. Like, he just wants basically a side girlfriend that's not going to get him hemmed up with his wife. I was like, okay. So he gives the guy my number. Dude calls me. He's like, hey, I'm Ryan. I was like, well, that's my name too. And he's like, what's up? And we started talking. He's like, so I heard that you can arrange dates for people. I said, well, not really. I'll tell you what my situation is. And I explained that I was starting to do webcam porn. I was trying to start a company. One of the girls that I worked with did that as side work, and I was actually trying to get her out of that profession. He's like, okay, what does she look like? And I'm like, oh, well, I can send you a picture. So I texted her. I was like, hey, he wants to see pictures of you. She sent them to me, and I forwarded them. They're naked pictures. So he texted me back. He's like, oh yeah, she's cute. How much is it, like, just for an introductory session? Like, I just want to sleep with her once, just to know if it's somebody that I want to continue long term, to have like a sugar daddy relationship type thing with. I'm like, man, I don't know. This isn't I'm not a pimp, I don't really know. I can ask her what she's trying to do. So basically I'm in the middle of it, and I call her and I'm asking her, and she's like, tell him $400 an hour. I'm like, okay. So I tell him, and they make a plan to meet at a hotel on noon on a Friday. This is like on a Tuesday, and they make a plan to meet on Friday at noon. And we will get into what happens next in the Pimping and Pandering Chronicles on the next video. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, dislike. If you want to do some sort of debate with me about a conspiracy theory, I think we're all a little bored right now, and I'm game for it. And I'm not saying that your opinion's wrong or that mine's right. In fact, mine's probably wrong about a lot of stuff, but still, it might be fun to debate. I appreciate you guys. Stay safe. If you get famous enough, a small dick doesn't matter. Palabra.